at two of the community centers and Burnaby Hospital.
Great.
Yeah,
Good.
we could start anytime.
We're good. We're started.
Great. Well, welcome all of you early birds. Thanks for spending this wonderful fall evening with me. And I'm really hopeful I can share some really helpful information to improve your own sense of well-being, and your own feeling of control in your own health. And again, for those of you that are new to the Burnaby Division's Empowering Patients Public Education Program, we're here to provide you with the information you need to deal with healthcare professionals, deal with hospitals, and some tips on managing your own health. And there are also talks on chronic conditions that many of us or our loved ones or friends may have as well. I'd like to introduce Leona, who works with me very closely over the past 10 years in doing our live as well as now our online empowering patient talks. And Leona is very active in the leadership of the Burnaby Division of Family Practice. So she has lots of up-to-date information. So I'll leave it to Leona for a few minutes to update everyone on what's going on in Burnaby.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Wong. So happy to be here. Nice to see so many people attending this evening. This is our first Empowering Patients talk of the 2025-26 season. So all of our talks are listed on our website. So that's my plug here is I'm going to populate some links in the chat. The first one being our Empowering Patients page with all of our upcoming talks. So if there's some topics there that you're interested in, please feel free to register. You will get reminders as you would have for this talk when they come up. So if you're registering for one in April of 2026, you will get a reminder. Don't worry about that. I'm going to share our other resources page, which Dr. Wong has very kindly shares his presentations with you. And also he puts together an information sheet. So high-level information sheets that you can download, you can print, you can email to your family, your friends, just about the information about each topic. So tonight on healthcare, self-care. So I will be the first to admit that those resources are not there yet, but they will be up there tomorrow morning. So don't worry about that. I'm also going to post a link to our Looking for a Family Doctor page. If you're one of those folks that are looking for a doctor, we do have some information on our website that I'm happy to share on how to get added to the Health Connect registry and all those good bits. So keep an eye open for that link. I'm going to share a link to our Primary Care Networks page, and our Primary Care Networks in Burnaby is a collaboration with the Burnaby Division of Family Practice, and we support family doctors, our family doctors in Burnaby, as well as Fraser Health Authority, and as well as many, many community partners. So we work as a tripartite to provide services for the community. So for our doctors to refer you, if applicable, to lots of these resources. So I'm going to put a couple links there. So check them out. You can just, in your off time, go through and see there's many supports for seniors or for youth, or if there's, anyways, I won't go into them. There's lots of them. Just take a look. And we also have a monthly newsletter, which is health and wellness focused. So please consider subscribing to that. And it's called The Checkup. So you can read our latest issue. And I'm almost done. If you have any questions for Dr. Wong, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll be happy to relay them to him at the end of his presentation. And at the very end, we do have I believe it's an 8-question evaluation for you. So it's really, really helpful for Dr. Wong and I when you share your feedback on our talks as we plan for the following year. So that's it. That's my pitch. I'm happy to be here, happy that you're here, and I'm going to let Dr. Wong take over.
Thanks, Leona, and thanks for all you do to support our talks as well as all your activities with the Burnaby Division. So the Burnaby Division of Family Practice is actually a nonprofit association of the family doctors that serve the Burnaby community. So, of course, a lot of our patients are outside of Burnaby itself, but we're working, so we care not only about our own individual patients whom we love and look after. I have about 2,700. That's why I'm still wearing my office clothes. I haven't left the office yet. But it was created, I believe, over 15 years ago, with about 8 of my colleagues were the founding physicians and Hundreds of family doctors came on board. I was the first chair, and it continues to thrive and works in partnership with this, so many other stakeholders that look after the well-being of everyone in our Burnaby community, including Fraser Health and our hospitals and the city of Burnaby and Parks and Rec and the schools, a huge network and so many non-for-profit, non-government organizations that do so much to all work together to look after everyone in our community. Now, if you can look at the website, there's lots of information there, as well as our information about future talks and past talks that we've given. So why are we here? Obviously to learn more about things to keep you healthy, but I'm here because I'm kind of giving back to my Burnaby community. I was born in Vancouver, long, long time ago, 63 years ago. But my family moved to Burnaby from Mount Pleasant area in Vancouver to North Burnaby. And I went to Parker School. So we moved before I started kindergarten. And so I did all my schooling and swim lessons and lots of activities on the Burnaby parks and spent lots of time in the Burnaby Public Library as well. The McGill branch, which is now expanded, but still in that location. So I would go there pretty regularly with my mom, and we'd each get our limit at that time of 20 books every week. And I hope that I could do something and write something that can make a positive impact in other people's lives, like the books that I was being inspired by as well. And my mom is the other inspiration, how giving she was, not only to our own family, but to our community, to our church community, to the seniors groups. She was very active at Confederation House. So, um, like my mom, my circle of caring expands beyond my own patients. Um, and my mom's circle of caring also expanded beyond that to the community, and she cared a lot about the world. And when my mom passed away over 22 years ago, suddenly, while she was exercising at Confederation, it was devastating. But I came to terms with it when I realized that my mom's legacy was still a part of me, and it's that legacy of love. So just like the water cycle, as an analogy, water's makes up 60% of our bodies, but it's water that cycles through all of life and nature. It's not for us to keep. And a lot of the water that's in you now will be back into the rivers and the oceans and will come back as precipitation. And likewise with love. We're all part of a love cycle. We receive lots of benefits and care from many different people in many human and divine ways. And it's not for us to keep, but to pass forward to others. And it's good to think about, especially with recent Thanksgiving, that we're the benefactors of the kindness and the love in many different ways from our ancestors, people that came before us that set up the really useful, helpful institutions that keep a nice, stable, caring community that we live in. So like my mom expanding her circle of care, the Empowering Patients program is another way that I care for my community. I wrote for the Burnaby now since I started practice in 91 until they closed for business earlier in the springtime. But it was my way of kind of sharing helpful information, inspiring words for people in my community, which is the Burnaby community. And and my kids and my wife are also part of that big cycle of love, going back to um, my in-laws as well as my own parents, including my mom. So, as family docs in the Burnaby division, we care about our patients, our community, and our collective future. So today I'll be talking about what I call the four foundations of self-care, all the things that we can do to look after ourselves, including healthy eating, healthy physical activity, emotional well-being, healthy relationships, and finally closing down with making positive lifestyle changes. So I don't want you to perceive this as a lecture of all the things that we might not be doing perfectly well, because none of us is perfect. There's always little areas that we're focused on at different times in our lives, and some areas that we don't know much about or have neglected because of other priorities. Because we're all at different stages and different priorities and different values. But the four foundation is something that we should return to again. And I'm hoping we can share some information that will be new and useful to you. And I know a lot of you are interested in health, so you probably are already striving to live your healthiest life. So a lot of this will be familiar to you. But if there's one small area you can look at that you'd like to make a positive change, that would be fantastic. So I'll be giving some tips on some little cheat sheets and things to make it easier to do positive new activities or replace some older habits that are no longer working for you. I often start with asking what healthcare is, because people usually think it's the glamorous stuff that you see on Grey's Anatomy or Chicago Medical late at night. But of course, family doctors, community nurses will tell you it's mainly what goes on in the community, what patients and people are doing day to day, managing your daily habits, managing chronic conditions, getting support within the community, and being proactive and preventive. So, although the glamorous stuff might be the stuff on TV and in the news, the core of your care is in the community and close to home, maybe in your home. But really, who provides most of your health care? And those of you who attended before know it's not professional healthcare providers. You are the most important person. You're in charge and you're the priority. And real healthcare is the self-care. The best predictor of your future health are the habits that we practice every day, at least those things that are within our control, which is plenty. And those four foundations, in review again, are what you eat, what you put into your body, and paying attention to a balanced diet, giving you the nutrition and energy you need, while avoiding some things that are more noxious, like cigarette smoke or alcohol or recreational drugs. The second foundation is physical activity, what you do, balanced by rest. The third foundation, how you feel, emotional well-being. And then finally, the fourth foundation of how you connect with others, healthy relationships. So we'll be covering all four topics today, and we've provided more expanded deep dives into each of these topics, and you should be able to find those videos and the resources and handouts for those as well if you dig into the Burnaby Division website for empowering patients. But this will give you a good overview and also useful information that you can put into practice tomorrow morning. So that first foundation, what you eat, what do you put into your body? You know the saying, you are what you eat. And of course, the gingerbread man obviously just eats gingerbread. So you could put lots of icing on him, but he's still solid gingerbread. Our food matters because a healthy diet provides the building blocks, the materials for your bones, your muscles, and all the important organs of your body. Um, so we want good quality building material made in Canada. And a healthy diet also provides nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients that promote the systems of the body, your healing, your immune system, and preventing disease, including cancer. And finally, a healthy diet provides you with the energy or the fuel for your body. And you do want good quality because your fuel, because your body is like a finely tuned race car. So that was my midlife mobile before it was totaled by a Ford F-150 with a head-on collision. So you wouldn't put poor fuel into your body if you want to put healthy things into your ride. So this is my current vehicle, which is a very practical plug-in hybrid Honda. I just need to highlight the words fuel for your body. And I hope this is not a shock to people, but it's actually alcohol. So alcohol is actually quite poisonous and toxic to pretty well all the cells in our body. Unfortunately, it's a big part of social life. But I just want to remind you about the toxic effects of drinking alcohol. So it's obviously toxic to our cells. It affects our emotions and our thinking. It's psychoactive. And the alcohol itself is very addictive. So it's easy to become dependent on it, even with just a few drinks. But a lot of people didn't realize it's what we call a group 1 carcinogen. So it's the highest risk group of substances. That's in the same class as asbestos, radiation, and tobacco from smoking. So most people weren't aware of that, and hence the new guidelines in Canada for low risk drinking limits. So you probably will be surprised how low that limit is. Alcohol can cause damage to heart muscle and cause heart failure. Yeah, so it can cause what we call alcoholic cardiomyopathy or disease of the muscle of the heart. It can contribute to high blood pressure. So we've actually seen that in a lot of patients that were just regular, not heavy drinkers, but when they reduced and they cut out the alcohol, all of a sudden they didn't need any more blood pressure medications. So often a hit cause for high blood pressure. And of course, excessive drinking over time can cause damage to the brain itself. We call that alcoholic encephalopathy. And as I had mentioned, it's now known that alcohol can cause numerous cancers. Obviously, those tissues and cells that the alcohol comes in contact with, including cancer of the mouth, the larynx or the voice box, down the esophagus, in the throat, obviously the liver, where it's the mainly metabolized. It can also cause breast cancers in women. So the new guidelines for drinking is quite different than what we doctors told our patients before. We used to say 2 or 3 drinks a day for a man and 2 drinks per day for women, because that was what we thought the capacity of the alcohol was for the liver. So that we were thinking just about liver itself. But the new guidelines in Canada are taking into account the other health risks that we've mentioned, including the cancer risk and risk to high blood pressure and heart disease. So the new low risk drinking is 2 or fewer drinks per week, and realizing that drink depends on the concentration of alcohol. So a standard can of beer, which is 5% alcohol, is equivalent to um, if you're talking about 40% hard alcohol, just 1 shot or an ounce. And a standard wine glass, which is 14% alcohol, would be equivalent to 1 drink. So there are ways that our food outside of alcohol can harm us. So a diet that's too high in the wrong kinds of fats, too high in salt, high in calories for our bodies, or too high in sugar can lead to obesity, arthritis, hardening of the arteries, including strokes, chest pain, angina, or heart attacks, and can contribute to diabetes and high blood pressure. So we often, yeah, prescribe healthier diets to prevent disease and to treat these chronic conditions as well. Deficiencies, or when you're lacking certain nutrients, such as calcium or vitamin D, could lead to impaired bone growth in children or osteoporosis in people of all ages and to premature fractures. As calcium and vitamin D are really important for strengthening our bones at all ages. If you don't have enough protein in your diet, then you can lose muscle and you can have weakness as well as wasting away of your muscle. And a diet low in B12, folic acid, or iron can lead to anemia and then fatigue, diminished endurance for walking or other sports. And it could even impair your cognition, your memory, and your alertness. So there's so many reasons why we don't eat perfectly, and none of us eats perfectly. One is just the habits that we have, how easy it is just to go for fast food when you're really busy, you don't have time to cook, or you've got to take your kids places. And it's more, obviously more endemic in the US, where a large majority of families actually do takeout and eat out or deliveries for their main dinner meal, which is pretty amazing. We also have an emotional connection with food because there's some foods that are just our comfort foods, like craft dinner that you enjoyed as a kid and maybe in college or university. Even though it might be a little bit fatty and not as nutritious as we'd like, we have nice warm associations with it. And of course, our cultural connection. So I was used to having Chinese food every other day. So in my family, my mom would cook a Western meal. One day, the next day would be Chinese food, home cooked, of course. So my sister and I knew how to set the table because if we used chopsticks and soup spoons yesterday, today will be nice forks and spoons. And advertising often fuels our craving. So if you're watching TV tonight instead of listening to my talk, you'd probably see about 5 fast food commercials showing huge burgers that look so juicy filling your screen from Wendy's and A&W and McDonald's. And when I spend any time watching TV with my wife, I just see so many gigantic hamburgers on screen like every hour. And also the cost. So sometimes it's more expensive to eat a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables. So I'll provide some tips that people have shared about how to eat well, even on a budget. And the other part is knowledge, that there aren't a lot of people or organizations that are really publicizing what a healthy meal would entail. There's a lot of things being sold to people, a lot of fad diets, and a lot of diets designed to help people to lose weight. Um, but a good guide that's been revised in recent years is Canada's Food Guide. So this is the website you can look up, or you could just Google Canada's Food Guide, the revised version. So it's much less complicated than the previous version. So the basic is half your plate, like for lunch or dinner, should be a variety of vegetables and fruit. That's half your plate. A quarter of the plate can be some starchy foods, and you'd want to choose more whole grain foods like whole wheat bread or brown rice or whole wheat pasta as well. So just a quarter of your plate. That will be providing you a lot of energy. And a quarter of your plate should be a source of protein. Obviously, we were talking about your muscles and your tissues. You need that protein as well. And also to maintain your sugar and energy levels throughout the morning or afternoon. So protein sources, they don't have to be meat. They can include eggs, like from egg whites, and there's a variety of vegetable sources as well, including tofu and beans and lentils for your source of protein. So half the plate, vegetables, a quarter whole grain starches, and a quarter of the plate, healthy sources of protein. And the drink of choice, of course, should be water because 6% of our body is water. It's zero in calories, no alcohol. And juices tend to be a little bit too much sugar for a lot of our bodies to process and burn off. So start with that half plate, plenty of fruits and vegetables. So that should be like at least half of your diet. It provides plenty of fiber, a whole variety of vitamins and minerals. So healthy young adults and children often don't need to take extra vitamins if they're eating a good variety of fruits and vegetables. And again, it should be half your plate, and eating whole fruits is better than fruit juices, which are much more concentrated and higher in sugar. Again, looking at that quarter of the plate that's for protein, that includes eggs, particularly the egg whites are a good source of protein. You get a little bit more fat from the egg yolk, the yummy part. You can get it from lean meats, such as poultry like chicken, and nuts and seeds, including peanuts, almonds, cashews, nut butters like peanut butter, almond butter, and sunflower seeds. Those are also sources of protein. Fish and shellfish are other sources. Fish in particular, especially oily fish like salmon or tuna, they provide actually healthy fats as well as the protein that are good for your body with antioxidants. You could choose lower fat dairy products like skim or 1% milk rather than homo milk, which is higher in the unhealthy or saturated fat. And of course, beans, peas, and lentils are a good healthy source of protein. If you have soy beverages, if you don't drink milk, especially with children, they need to be fortified to provide other things like calcium and vitamin D. Um, Tofu, soybeans, many soy products can be sources of protein as well. And for that quarter plate again, the whole grains, you could choose quinoa, wild rice, whole grain pasta, oatmeal, and whole oats. They're high in fiber, vitamins, and minerals. And that fiber reduces our risk for stroke, colon cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, and keeps bowel movements pretty regular, as long as you're drinking enough fluids and stay active as well. Fiber is a tricky thing. It's the part of the food material that we don't absorb. So um, if you get too much fiber, you might have harder stools and feel more constipated. So you need just the right balance from healthy sources. So you can see how much variety you can get with a healthy diet. We have to be careful with some grains that we're choosing for that quarter plate because they might have a lot of added sodium or salt, a lot of simple sugars, and a lot of saturated fats, the unhealthy ones that are bad for our arteries. So they might include a lot of breads, especially commercial breads, um, especially white bread, which is more refined. A lot of the muffins and crackers and some of the pasta dishes can be higher in sodium. So read the labels if you can to make sure you're not adding a little bit too much salt or sodium or sugar or saturated fat. Yeah. And again, choose foods that have the fats that are good for us instead of the saturated fats. So the healthier fats raise our HDL cholesterol, which reduces our risk for strokes and heart attacks. And the sources of healthy fats includes most nuts and seeds, avocado, most vegetable oils, soft margarine like Basil, and as I mentioned, the fattier fish like salmon, trout, herring, mackerel. Obviously, lots of smell and taste go with that too. And I know that some people are allergic to fish, and a lot of kids as well as grown-ups really don't like fish. So you have to find the right balance for your home and family and your taste. So some cooking oils are a little bit healthy for us. So there's those with healthy fats include corn oil, olive oil, canola, peanut oil, sesame, soybean, flaxseed, safflower, and sunflower oils are fine and healthy for cooking with or using on salads. But there are sometimes unhealthy ones that some people are surprised with, like palm oil and coconut oil are they're more saturated fats, so they're not so good for the health of our blood vessels. Try to avoid really fatty meats like beef, lamb, and pork, especially the fattier cuts. And high-fat dairy products like cream or excessive higher fat cheese and highly processed foods, especially our snack foods, which have become even more popular since the beginning of the pandemic. So read the labels of your evening snack when you're watching TV and try to avoid the amount of saturated fats or cholesterol that are included. And we should again choose the healthy fats instead of the saturated. Examples of the unhealthy fats could be the saturated fats from ice cream, from a lot of desserts and baking products, from deep fried foods, uh, food with hard margarine, too much high fat cheese, or even cooked with lard or with butter. And again, avoid highly processed foods because they often contain excess sodium, sugar, and saturated fats. So you'll see a lot of these candies in the next few weeks for Halloween. So hopefully not too many grown-ups are finishing off their children's candy. So we should limit these highly processed foods like these super sugary drinks, Coke and Sprite and Pepsi, ice creams, frozen desserts, and the variety of candy that we're seeing in the stores already. And of course, fast food, including hamburgers and French fries and chocolate. Okay for a treat once in a while, special occasions, but certainly not something to eat every day or regularly every week. Again, highly processed foods include frozen meals, sausages, deli meats, muffins, buns, and cakes. So uh, save those for your special occasions, but not something to eat on a regular basis. And again, water, the drink of choice. We're fortunate to have really clean tap water in Vancouver, and so much better than drinking highly processed and sugary drinks. And a reminder to read food labels. So they're pretty standardized. Usually the the ingredient in what you're buying in the store that weighs the most is going to be at the top of the food nutrition label. Um, and watch out for the things that people are allergic to, of course. They're often in the fine print. And of course, note the expiry date and best before date. So pay attention to the sodium because that affects the heart, fluid retention, and blood pressure. Look for how much of the daily nutrients you need, like from protein, and watch out for excessive saturated fats. And sometimes cholesterol might be listed as well. Again, Canada's Food Guide, very evidence-based, actually amazingly easy to apply compared to the previous versions. So here's some tips from the website, from the Canada Food Guide. So be mindful of our eating habits, cook at home more often rather than eating out, and really enjoy your food, enjoy it with others. It's harder to eat healthy on your own. As I mentioned, read the food labels, limit the highly processed food, and notice that how much we're influenced by advertising. Now, different conditions require slightly different ways of eating. For diabetes or people with pre-diabetes, like a predisposition towards diabetes, like higher blood sugars, or a history of gestational diabetes, diabetes during a pregnancy, or a family history of a parent or sibling with diabetes, that increases our risk as well. So in general, people with diabetes should have regular, frequent, smaller meals throughout the day. Uh, Manage the portions, very similar to the Canada's Food Guide. Half the plate vegetables, a quarter um, whole grains and starches, and a quarter being low fat, healthy sources of meat. And we talk about the glycemic index, the ability of a food, particularly the starches, to make our blood sugars go up. Again, the Canada Food Guide is very similar to the guide for people with diabetes and prediabetes. One portion of fruit, like one apple or one orange or one banana per meal or per mid-morning or afternoon snack is manageable for most people with diabetes, as opposed to a glass of juice, which is like 3 fruits or more concentrated that we cannot burn off in a short couple of hours after our meal. So one portion of fruit, like half a cup of berries or cherries, or one whole fruit like an apple or an orange is usually manageable for most people with diabetes per meal or per snack. Again, there's plenty of details on the Canadian diabetes website, diabetes.ca, a wealth of information. So rules of thumb from the Canada Diabetes Association website are the amount of grains and starches you should eat um, is about the size of your fist for grains and starches and fruit. For milk and alternatives, a cup of low-fat milk is desirable. For vegetables, what you can hold in both hands is about the right quantity. For meat or protein sources, about the size of the palm of your hand. And the amount of fat, again, choosing the healthier versions, about the size of the tip of your thumb. And that glycemic index is with people that are prone to diabetes or with diabetes. They use that as a measure of how quickly a particular carbohydrate containing food raises their blood sugars. So there's a variety of vegetables that have a low glycemic index that are healthy to eat. So our blood sugars will rise more slowly and not as high with those foods. Whereas foods that are really high in glycemic index, like um, bagels and white bread and really sugary fruits tend to make our sugars go up much higher. So that's called high glycemic index. So people with diabetes or prediabetes should aim for foods that are lower in this glycemic index. Again, other examples of low glycemic index foods include quinoa, whole grains, and brown rice. Again, because they lower our blood sugar much more slowly, so we have a chance to burn it off with our physical activity and metabolism, as opposed to white bread and bagels where our sugars rise too quickly and too high. People that are at risk for atherosclerosis means cholesterol clogging the arteries leading to the brain, including the carotid arteries, or to the heart, coronary artery disease that can lead to angina or heart attacks, or cholesterol blocking the arteries to our extremities that can lead to calf pain when we're walking, or even gangrene and amputations of toes. So people with these conditions, generally we ask them to have a diet that's lower in saturated fat so that the LDL, the bad cholesterol, is lower, and to consume more healthy oils such as we find in fish, and to do more cardio exercise within their level of fitness and safety to raise the HDL, what we consider the healthier cholesterol that keeps our arteries clear. People that have heart failure, which is a reduced ability for the heart to pump as much blood. So not too many people are familiar with heart failure, but I gave a recent talk last year that is still online that you can look up that looks at different types of heart conditions, including the atherosclerosis of the coronary arteries that can cause heart attacks, but also heart failure, which is a fatigue of the pumping action of the heart muscle itself. The symptoms are very subtle, and they usually occur later in life, including increased swelling of our feet or ankles, because that blood is not returning to the heart as quickly. Shortness of breath that increases when we're lying down, because that could be fluid that's backing up into our lungs. Or having to wake up repeatedly during the night because of shortness of breath and having to sit up and stand for relief. Or sudden weight gain of 5 pounds in a day or two can be from fluid retention as well. So it's generally managed by limiting the amount of fluids you consume, and every patient has to just consult with their physician to understand what their particular limit is, whether that be a liter or 1.5 liters a day. And also limiting sodium and salt, which makes us retain or hold on to that fluid. People with high blood pressure often will benefit from the DASH diet, which I'll get into in a moment, and again, reducing sodium or salt in the diet. The DASH diet is like a Mediterranean diet. It's high in fruit and vegetables, low or non-fat type dairy products, uses whole grains rather than highly processed starches, high in fiber, kind of low in to moderate in fat, again, choosing the healthier non-saturated fats, and rich in nutrients like potassium, calcium, and magnesium. If you are a vegan, then you don't consume any meat or fish or poultry or eggs or dairy. So it requires a bit of extra planning to make sure that we get enough protein, which you certainly can from a vegetarian or vegan diet. You might have to supplement with iron, and you have to be careful about making sure you have enough sources for zinc and calcium and vitamin D, B12, and the omega-3 fats that we often get from fish. So planning is very careful, and you may want to consult with a dietitian or your family physician if you're on a vegan diet. That means no meat, fish, poultry, eggs, or dairy products. So some tips on healthy eating on a budget. So cooking at home is way cheaper, although time consuming, but it's a family thing to do. Yeah, if everyone plays a role, because everyone gets to enjoy it. Cooking extra portions, so accepting that leftovers can make be great for to have a few weeks later if you freeze them, or for your lunch the next day if that's appropriate. Also, keeping track of what we put in our pantry rather than just buying things that seem to be on sale at the store. It's good that you always know if you're running low on flour or rice or bread so that you can buy when you need to, and keeping track of expiry dates. So when you buy things, make sure they have the longest um, good before date. We should plan our meals, so making up that shopping list so that we don't have to go shopping every day. So when you plan your meals, then you'll be able to plan ahead, shop just once a week, try to look out for the prices and buy things when they're on sale. And again, reading the labels so you buy things that are going to be good in your home for a long time. And you should buy what you need, not buy so much that it gets spoiled unless you want to kind of share the cost and the food with friends and family. And again, plan ahead for healthy snacks, not to go to the store when you're really hungry, because then you're going to buy more of the snack foods, the things that we crave for. So examples of healthy snacks instead of the potato chips could include raw veggies, cheese, preferably lower in saturated fats, and popcorn without too much butter or salt, and whole grain bread. So this looks really like a really yummy snack to have, and so much better than eating endless chips. Although that's what we often crave for when we're watching all those ads on TV. When we're looking at meats and alternative sources of protein, try to buy larger meat packages on sale and divide them into different servings. My wife is so good at this so that, um, usually when we come home from the grocery store, then we divide up all the chicken breasts and he puts the date and puts them into Ziploc bags and then bring them down to the freezer. Dried or canned beans and lentils, tofu and eggs can be cheaper sources of good quality protein. Um, I I love canned tuna and salmon, so I always stock up on that. That's often a great snack, especially if my wife's away for a couple of days and has such a long day, don't have time to cook. Then salmon with some whole wheat rice is nice, and a salad. When you're shopping for vegetables and fruit, definitely buy in season. The most expensive watermelon I ever bought was when my wife was pregnant with my son Ryan, and it was in the old days before we could get any fruit from around the world at any time of the year. But it was the most expensive watermelon in December. I bought it at Granville Island. And don't buy fruit that's overly ripe because then you'd have to eat it right away or it'll get spoiled. Bananas are quite notorious for turning brown before the week is over. You could buy larger bags of frozen veggies and frozen fruits. Um, and also canned fruit is another option. For grains, buy rice, flour, oats, and pasta in bulk, and buy whole grain bread in bulk, and then store the loaves in the freezer. That's what I usually do. Evie has some quick questions. Free advice from dietitians, 811. So look at HealthLink BC. There's a wealth of information, medical advice that you can trust. So often a lot of after hours, people are calling 811 and getting some good solid advice from a nurse or a dietitian. And again, the primary care networks are associated with the Burnaby Division of Family Practice and other partners. And they do have a food network that's part of the community social, emotional, and wellness support services. So you can look at the Burnaby Division website that can lead you to the PCN Primary Care Network's website and information available in multiple languages because we have a very multilingual community here in Burnaby. So on to the second foundation of self-care, what you do, physical activity. There's my dad, my role model for staying active. He's now 95. I think this picture is from 10 years ago, but he pretty well looks the same. We were meant to move. We were made to move. When we don't, our health suffers, but when we do, we thrive, just like my dad. So 7 benefits of physical activity include decreasing the risk for heart disease, stroke, diabetes, high blood pressure, and cancer. Exercise plays a really important role in managing all those conditions and improving chronic health conditions. Exercise regularly helps prevent weight gain and complements healthy nutrition, of course, to help you maintain the best weight for your body. Exercise improves the fitness of your heart, your lungs, and your muscles, and it conditions so you can do everyday tasks more easily. My dad still uses a gas mower to mow his own lawn, rakes his own leaves, all those things. Um, and those are really good physical activities because he remains active. Regular exercise prevents falls and improves cognition because moving the limbs, eyes, and brain, we become accustomed to a variety of positions, improve our balance and our agility, and we react a little more quickly. And when blood flows better throughout our body, it also provides better circulation to your brain. A healthy body promotes a healthy brain. And weight-bearing activities such as walking, hiking, and weight training help maintain the density of your bones and then reduce the risk for osteoporosis and fractures. Finally, exercise improves sleep. Exercise improves our emotional well-being by reducing the stress hormones like cortisol, and increases the feel-good hormones like endorphins, improves our confidence, and gives us a sense of accomplishment. And there's plenty of social benefits of exercise, whether it be dance, yoga, pickleball, badminton, hiking, even swimming. We run into our old friends that we see every morning. And of course, like anything the doctor prescribes, even exercise has its risks. Um, this is me probably after my fractures healed. So I had 11 rib fractures in the course of like 5 minutes on the flying trapeze, not from falling, but landing on the bar a little bit too hard in the wrong place. So, but um, two of those ribs are just fractured front and back. So it only involved a fewer number of ribs, but it did get better. If your current workout is moving from the couch to fridge and you're over 40, um, at risk for heart disease or have a chronic condition such as diabetes, heart failure, asthma, chronic bronchitis, or arterial disease, talk to your doctor before you're starting a new exercise program just to make sure we pick one that's right for you and to pick a pace that's appropriate for you as well. If you have significant wear and tear arthritis, osteoarthritis, such as in the knees, the hips, or the hands or fingers or shoulders, you want to choose those activities that don't overload the joints, like super high impact. So if you had arthritis of the knees and hips, you probably want to avoid running, especially long distance running. Swimming might be a better choice. And to reduce our injuries, we should start at a lower intensity, exercise in a safe environment, get expert assistance and instruction when using new equipment like the weight room. Or if you're starting cycling, make sure you have helmets, appropriate shoes, and have someone to coach you and guide you if you're new to the sport. And of course, we should avoid getting dehydrated by drinking adequate fluids during exercise. And you can overdose on exercise. So signs of over-exercise including excessive weight loss, constant muscle soreness and tiredness that you never recover even with rest, recurrent injuries and overuse injuries, recurrent infections like colds and the flu, and just feeling really tired all the time because regular exercise should make you feel more energized. Or if you're neglecting your work or your school or your friends or your loved ones because you're exercising all the time. All of them are signs that you're overdoing it. Because there can be too much of a good thing. You want to balance activity with rest and healthy nutrition. And we can look for ways of increasing our physical activity each day. There's many simple ways like walking or biking to school a few days out of the week, or maybe even every day. If you take transit, maybe getting off a few blocks earlier so you can walk a little bit more on a nice day. And of course, we're in Vancouver, so we want to dress warmly for the cold days when it's not raining and dress waterproof with nice gum boots, duck boots, or vesties, and wearing bright clothes, yellow or orange, so other people in cars can see us when we're trying to cross the street. You can go hands-free at home when you're doing your chores and talking on the phone and dance to your favorite music. And you could exercise in front of the TV if you are spending a few minutes watching the news or your favorite Korean drama. You can stretch and exercise in front of the TV like my dad likes to do. And also check out our community centers in every part of Greater Vancouver and particularly in Burnaby. We have amazing services and resources at our community centers. Yeah, including our pools, our weight rooms, our dance and yoga classes, and we have so much. 25% of Burnaby is parkland, so there's so much you can do outdoors in a safe way. And my favorite swimming pool, Central Park, that just closed for the last outdoor swim last Sunday. It was a good season that stretched from April 29th to October 12th. So I had my second swim of each day. Every morning I swim at one of the community pools indoors, 2K, 80 lengths front crawl, and then every afternoon during those 6 months, I was able to enjoy 1K or another 1,000 meters in Central Park. We were made to move. When we don't, our health suffers, but when we do, we thrive. Now, on to our third foundation of self-care, emotional well-being. How you feel. How would you define emotional wellness? Is it happiness? Is it getting everything you want, like the lottery, or the perfect job, or the perfect partner? Or is it the absence of a bad mood or anxiety? You could think of emotional wellness as a deep sense of meaning and purpose, an abiding sense of peace, and the ability to manage the stresses that are inevitable with the transitions of life. Awareness of your own thoughts and feelings and the ability to manage them. Emotional health matters because depression is really common. We all will experience some form of depression in a lifetime, and it's a major cause for people not being able to go to school or being off work for the short and long term. Your emotional health matters because even if you're not disabled, anxiety can hold you back from doing what you need to do or doing what you want to do, from moving forward, from reaching out and giving and showing your best to the world. Emotions influence our behavior. So when we're angry, we regress to like a younger stage of development and we could be aggressive. When we're depressed, we withdraw. And when we're anxious, we freeze. Our emotions affect our relationships and they can shade our thinking. When we're anxious, we overestimate danger and challenge, and we really underestimate our ability to manage. When we're depressed, we tend to think negatively about ourselves, about our situation, and about our future. So, your brain is a thought factory, but not every thought is reality. A thought is just your hypothesis or best guess of what's going on outside of our heads and based on our senses. And that brain is constantly processing information on a conscious and subconscious level that we're not aware of, producing thoughts, some of which may be true and some not so accurate. But what we focus on, those thoughts that we repeat and ruminate upon, really shape our emotions and perspectives. And we are all born with a negativity bias. And that's a tendency to look for things that are wrong. We inherited this from our ancestors that survived because they were able to pick up on danger. And we're so attuned to negativity that we really need to see five positive things or have five positive thoughts just to balance out one negative thought. Our brain is composed of the reptilian brain that handles our instincts and our immediate reactions and flight or fight survival mode, our limbic or mammalian brain, or the midbrain, which is our emotional and feeling brain, and then the later development of the early primate rational thinking brain, the neocortex. So when we're in danger, the reptilian brain takes over. When we're feeling really emotional and anxious, our mammalian emotional brain takes over and can control our thinking and behavior. We all need key emotional health skills that we need to nurture in ourselves and in those around us. The number one thing to think about is your sense of control. So a key factor that can lead to burnout in physicians and many other people, including busy parents, especially moms, is just having so much to do, so little time and lack of support. Um, Locus of control or sense of control is really important. We have to accept the things we can't change while accepting responsibility for the things that we can. And then there's the serenity prayer. So grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. For the daily management of stress, imagine yourself just as a good parent to yourself. Do all the things that a good parent would say. Go out and play. So have that exercise routine that we talked about. 2, don't skip meals. So schedule regular healthy meals. And we've also covered. And then finally, go to bed. Get enough sleep. We all need at least 7 to 8 hours each night, and taking regular breaks throughout the day if we can. And then when you're not feeling well, emotionally or physically, go see the doctor. We all need our own family doctors, even family doctors do. And of course, we need to express our emotions with those close to you, with a group of confidence, and we all need our own support groups. And of course, living in accord with your values. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony from Gandhi. And importantly, attend to your relationships. For our relationships to thrive, we need to attend to them. And just a reminder that every life story is really a love story. How we were loved and accepted love, and how we pass that love to others, generation to generation. Another key emotional health skill, in addition to managing the daily stress of life, is mindfulness. It's so useful for centering the mind, to calm the nervous system, and to modulate how we experience situations, our emotions, thoughts, and physical sensations. If we practice mindfulness, we learn to be less reactive, and we learn to be more open and accepting experience as it arises, and without clinging to things, without pushing things away, and without judging. So John Kabat-Zinn, who popularized Western mindfulness practice, defined mindfulness as awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally, in the service of self-understanding and wisdom. A lot of people think of it as just focusing on the breath, but that's just the starting point, just to anchor ourselves in what we're feeling at this moment. So often it begins with a focus on breath and physical sensations, and then we could turn our attention to sounds and sights and even our thoughts and feelings without judgment or identification. And mindfulness, when you want to think about what's actually happening in mindfulness, is one way of knowing. So the standard way of knowing our world and seeing ourselves is the conceptual dualistic version that we associate with the left cerebral hemisphere. And that's when it's always solving problems and looking for distinctions between us and them and others. And then there is the right cerebral hemisphere that's associated with more holistic, intuitive knowing and present experience. And it's that right-brained, holistic, intuitive perspective that we develop through mindfulness. So the left hemisphere comes from the perspective of the individual separate from the self and functions to keep you safe from danger. So really important for surviving and thriving in the world. And the right hemisphere sees your world from the perspective of the whole and your connection with others and with all life. Cognitive therapy is a tool to actually look at the thinking traps we all fall into. So these are common traps we fall into that can make us feel more depressed or more anxious. So one thinking distortion is all or nothing thinking, seeing all the bad in another person or a situation and discounting the positive. Catastrophizing means imagining everything going wrong or the worst case scenario. And another distortion is excessive self-blame, blaming yourself for everything that's wrong in your life. So a useful acronym for kind of challenging our thoughts is the THINK acronym. Is this thought true? Is this thought helpful? Is it helpful for me in this situation? Is this thought inspiring? Is it inspiring me to positive action? Is it necessary? And is it kind? So is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? And if it's not all of those things, then we need to come up with an alternative. And you might just say, what would a best friend tell me in this situation if I had these thoughts? Or what would someone else that loves and cares for me say to me at this time? So some useful reading, if you'd like to learn more about cognitive therapy, there's Mind Over Mood by Christine Podesky and Greenberger, Authentic Happiness by Martin Seligman, and The Feeling Good Manual by David Burns. So all available at the Burnaby Public Library or at Chapters or Amazon. And if you have mild to moderate symptoms of depression, talk to your family doctor. He or she will be a great resource and someone you can talk to. But there is a program through Mindspace throughout the province that's free with referral by your family doctor, where you can learn cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness skills. It's called the CBT skills course but there's a lot of learning of mindfulness and stress management. So it's mind space, CBT skills, group classes that are online throughout the province, and you could be referred by your family doctor. And then finally, visualizing your goals is a very key emotional health skill. So you were all familiar with Roget's thesaurus, I'm pretty sure, from childhood, elementary school. But you may not realize that Roget came up with the thesaurus to find words that were the opposite of how he was feeling when he was feeling really depressed and lonely with the loss of some really dear friends. So he came up with the antonyms or words that meant the opposite of feeling sad or lonely, like feeling joyful and connected and feeling harmonious. Um, so often we're kind of stuck in our problems. Instead of replaying the past or ruminating on the negative, think about what you want. So turn your problems into goals. And when you're relaxed and visualize yourself achieving that goal. What are you feeling? What do you see around you? What do you hear? I'll show you, I can guide you through a couple of visualizations so that we can kind of foster three really expansive mind states. So one is to feel more joy. The other is to have a sense of peace or calm when we're feeling stress. And the third is feeling unconditional love or compassion. So just invite you to relax and close your eyes. None of you are on camera, only me. And just in your imagination, bring to mind scenes from your own memories where you felt a sense of selflessness and timelessness and just pure joy, doing things you love to do, where your abilities just flowed and matched the challenges you're dealing with. It could be going for a walk or your favorite physical activity or sport, or it could be a challenge that you're just meeting perfectly, or you could be just communing or connecting with nature, another living creature like a pet, or just playing with small children, and just sharing the laughter of old friends, just experiencing the awe of nature. So bring to mind an experience like this where you really felt a sense of happiness and joy. Imagine who you're with. Imagine the sensations you're feeling, what you see, and just breathe in and enjoy that sense of pure joy and feeling connected. And knowing that you can come back and revisit and really ground the sense of joy. And when you are feeling that you feel that sense of joy, you could bring your thumb and index finger together so that when you need to remember this feeling of joy and happiness and connection and flow, you could just bring your thumb and index finger together and relive the sense of joy that's always a part of your mind, the right side of your mind. And now I invite you to really put yourself in a place of peace and equanimity, your own personal sanctuary of peace. So it might be um, a place in nature, maybe a favorite holiday, or maybe a place in your own home. Imagine the sounds that you hear that bring you peace. Perhaps the sounds of nature, waves washing upon the shore, or leaves rustling by the wind, water trickling over rocks, or maybe the sound of serene music like Bach or Pachelbel. So hear those sounds that make your mind more peaceful and feel the sensations that soothe your body and mind. Inhale the scents that calm your mind and feel yourself in the presence of a person or a being, real or imagined, or someone from your past or present, with whom you feel a deep sense of trust and peace. And knowing that each time you remember these moments of peace, you can really feel it. And you can ground it by bringing your thumb and middle finger together, knowing that at any time during the day, during any week, that you're feeling a little stressed and rushing around, that you give yourself a treat by pausing and breathing, bring your thumb and middle finger together, and find yourself in your personal sanctuary of peace, knowing it's always a part of you, no matter what's going on around you. And then finally, to foster unconditional love and compassion for yourself and others. Feel yourself in the presence of a person or others or a being who accepts and loves you just as you are. And see yourself connected to that universal cycle of love, accepting the love you've received throughout your life by so many people. Love felt from teachers and coaches and loved ones and family and parents, people that have helped you selflessly in the past. And feel yourself in the presence that someone that sees you, knows all about you, sees the best in you, and brings out the best in you and loves you just the way you are. And send that same love out to everyone you know and to all living beings. And knowing that whenever you want to connect with this deep sense of universal love and your place in the love cycle, you just need to bring your thumb and ring finger together, and you can bring yourself compassion and bring compassion to others whenever you need to. Now, I'd like to invite you back to the room. So there are other places for help. There's the Canadian Mental Health Association. That's the website. So they have a variety of courses and other resources and links to counselors and cognitive therapy. So cmha.ca. In every community in Fraser Health, from Burnaby to Hope, we have our community mental health and substance use centers. So in Burnaby, website fraserhealth.ca to all of them. But this is the number for accessing intake for the services of our community mental health and substance use teams. And a great source, a nonprofit society, is Camray Child and Family Services, great for children and family counseling on a sliding scale for affordability, right in Metrotown area on Imperial Street, camray.ca. Anxiety BC had an excellent program that became Anxiety Canada. So now the website's anxietycanada.com. So lots of courses in cognitive therapy and lots of links for apps as well that are useful for managing anxiety. The Mood Disorders Association of BC has support groups, cognitive therapy, and wellness programs. And SAFER is for follow-up of people that have experienced suicidal thoughts or had previous attempts and their family members. So a number that you can call if you're a family member or have a loved one or friend, or if you are having really dark thoughts for support that's available. The fourth foundation of self-care is how we relate. Healthy relationships. It requires commitments and work to maintain our relationships like a garden. Good communication, it requires time, and we want to nurture that unconditional love that we all need and we all need to share. Relationships matter. They are the social support. They give life meaning. That's where we discover and experience, receive, and share love from our friends and family and partners. They're so key to our emotional health and physical health. And of course, harmony in your home is essential to your well-being. And our loving friends and family support your health. Conflicts at home, work, or school are major sources of stress and contribute to anxiety and mood disorders. So this isn't my original wedding invitation, but our Suanne and my wedding invitation did say, "Today I marry my best friend." And so maybe so many couples start off this way, but when they divorce and then they had a party, it would probably say, "Today I divorced my worst enemy." So how does that happen from being totally in love to be totally in hate or despising the other person? We want to avoid that. So sources of conflict can include incompatibility in religion and upbringing, culture and values. A common one is introversion and extroversion. If we get drained by dealing with lots of people, or if we are energized by parties, we need to understand each other and complement each other. Some values are really incompatible, where if you have different core beliefs on what's right and wrong, um, if there's abuse, physical or emotional or sexual abuse, these are the game changers that you should not continue with a relationship. If the person fundamentally different has differences in belief in what is fundamentally right or wrong, or in what is good and what is bad, or if there's abuse, that we need to not be in that relationship and avoid them. We can have cognitive distortions. So when we start seeing each other differently. So this is really common. So when we're talking about cognitive therapy, these are the common ones that we fall into with people we live with and people we work with, making negative. So one is mind reading, thinking that we can actually read minds, like Uncle Martin from the 1960s shows My Favorite Martian, which is one of my favorites growing up. But no one can actually read minds, not even a spouse. But we tend to make negative assumptions about other people's intentions just from what we think is evidence. That can lead to excessive blaming. So when something goes wrong or something left undone, it's always the other person's fault. So this is actually an actual sign in the staff washroom at my office at Prime Care. I actually made that sign because so often I found an empty toilet paper roll. And actually, I encountered this again 20 years later or 15 years later, just yesterday in our staff washroom again, empty roll, someone left behind. And there's someone in the office. We think it's a doctor. We think it's a male doctor that's been leaving the toilet seat up in spite of signs and etiquette. And again, this is not a compromise to kind of leave it neither up or down. It's just really dangerous. Another cognitive error we fall into is all or nothing thinking, seeing all the bad and none of the good in the other person. When we fall in love, we see that angel. When we start living together and getting each other nerves, we sometimes just complain about the bad. Another cause of conflict can be a loss of intimacy if we're neglecting a relationship. So often we get on with the rest of our lives, other priorities, other relationships. If we let them take over the rest of our life, we share less time together and lose that sense of intimacy. And that could be a gateway to affairs and breakups. And of course, over time, feelings can change. So romantic love needs to mature into enduring love, from passion to compassion. If we don't nurture it and feed it regularly, it just fades away. A lot of people are really addicted to that rush, that cortisol, the endorphins from being madly in love when it's so obsessive and you're infatuated and only think it and see the good in the other person. It's almost like a psychosis. We really don't see the negatives in the accurate way. Um, but it's a psychosis that's self-limiting because and without any treatment because it always fades. So the quirks that really endear us when we fall in love eventually irritate us when the honeymoon is over. But these are the same things that we'll miss when our loved ones are gone. So I had a patient that was getting so mad at his wife because she kept leaving the basement light on. And he would get really infuriated. But then I asked him, think about a time in hopefully never, but maybe a time in the distant future when your wife is no longer with you and you go downstairs and the light is turned off and how you wish the light had been left on. And that helps him to kind of change the way he thinks about it and think about what really matters in his home and in his relationship. So the qualities of healthy relationships include respect, mutual respect for the individuality of the other person, for their feelings and their ideas. We can show respect through our speech and through our actions and how we listen, listening to the other person, not to figure out how we're going to respond next, but to understand. to get a better picture of the other person feels and to express how we understand and do it tentatively just so that we can be corrected so that we get it right and really understand and convey that we understand. We require a commitment to one another in our relationship through giving the time, the thought, the patience, and the effort and the willingness to work together. And we need to accept and manage the differences that every one of us is unique and we are different parts of that spectrum from introversion to extroversion to know what charges us, what drains us, and to find the balance so we can still do things together and have fun. That we have different passions, different preferences, different spiritual beliefs, different family custom, and different languages of love. Gary Chapman was famous for writing about the 5 languages of love, words of affirmation. Some people want to hear love through words, to hear I love you or to hear compliments. Others need to spend quality time together. Others really want presents. Others appreciate acts of service for the other person. And a lot of us want that physical touch, that hug or the kiss. But through our upbringing, we might express our love and want to feel it through only 1 or 2 of these modalities. And if our partner has a different way of feeling, expressing love, they won't know how much we love them and won't feel as loved. So have that conversation if you haven't figured it out with your partner and the people around you. What is their language of love? And can we speak and share our languages together? And again, we need to nurture unconditional love, like without judgment and mutual positive regard and a sense of goodwill. Because the 4 things that matter most, Ira Bioch is a palliative care specialist, works with people at the end of life, and wrote this book, 4 Things That Matter Most to People at the End of Life. We need to say these 4 things to others. Please forgive me, I forgive you, thank you, and I love you. We need to communicate in a healthy way to nurture our relationship, to take a breath and let anger cool before we react, to acknowledge the other's feelings and points of view, and express how you feel without blaming. So instead of saying, you made me feel terrible, but say, when you said that, I felt this way. So we need that mutual respect, that commitment, acceptance and management of our differences that make us unique, and that mutual positive regard and unconditional love. So think about your future self. Um, and recognize how much you've changed from now compared to 10 years ago to when you were a child. So we recognize how much we've changed over time looking in the past, but we underestimate how much we can change in the future. It's called the end of history bias, that we think we've changed so much to this date, but we don't think we're going to change that much in the future, but you will. So consider your future self. Your present self creates your future self. You make choices today and you act daily to create your future. So we ought to act as the person we plan to become and consciously foster your positive habits from this day forward. So every positive action is a vote for the person you want to be. That's from Atomic Habits by James Clear. And begin with your end in mind. Because at the end of your life, how would you like to be remembered? And what did your actions say about you? What will be the legacy of your activities and relationships? So here's some tips into once you've chosen a little change you want to make in your life. So please thought of one thing you'd like to change, just one. It might be going for a walk or doing a little bit more exercise. It might be eating a healthier snack when you're watching TV with your loved ones. So here's some quick, easy tips from the ABCs of Habit Formation by BJ Fogg, psychologist. So think of ABC stands for anchor, behavior, and celebration. So 3 key ingredients. So step number one, make the behavior you want to do, the new habit, really tiny and easy to do. An example is flossing one tooth instead of flossing all your teeth. That seems so easy. So number one, make it a really tiny, easy step. Number two, hook it onto an anchor, which is a behavior that you're going to do automatically anyway around the same time, such as brushing your teeth before you go to bed. And then you hook them together. And then after you brush your teeth, flossed one tooth, you will celebrate immediately. Because that triggers the release of dopamine. You get a positive response, and then you will actually crave to floss your tooth when you brush your teeth because you're going to feel so good afterwards. You're just alone in the washroom, so you can give yourself a thumbs up in the mirror, give yourself a high five, or you could just say, nailed it. No one could actually, has to hear you. So his little recipe would be after I brush my teeth at night, that's the anchor behavior. I will floss one tooth, that's a tiny behavior you're going to do. And I'm going to celebrate by saying nicely done. So that's the celebration. So here's some keys to achieving your goals. You have to choose a goal that matters to you, not someone else's goal for you. Or what you think you should do is what you really want to do. Two, visualize yourself achieving your goal, like we did with our visualization exercise. Like make it really real, as if you already achieved it, because you're priming the pump of your subconscious to see your future self. Break down that bigger goal to complete a marathon or triathlon to manageable little goal that's a stepping stone towards that goal, which is just starting to do some walking and running training for a few minutes, 3 days in the next week. So make it really easy so you won't get injured and you have early success and you can build upon it. Write down your goals because we know if you write down your goals, you're much more likely to achieve them. And when you write them down, get really specific. So you probably heard of SMART goals, and if you're in Burnaby, it's SMARTest goals, beginning with specific. What will you do and where are you going to do it? So if you're going to just exercise more, that's not enough. What kind of exercise are you going to do? Is it going to be just starting to walk every day? And where are you going to do it? M is measurable. So how many days a week, how many minutes, or how far? A is achievable. So make it within your grasp right away. So something that's achievable and not too hard to do. So doable. R is for relevant. Is it important to you and your health? And T is time frame. When are you going to start? When are you going to finish? And then because we're in Burnaby, we're smartest. So evaluate how did I do and what did I learn this first week? And make it fun, enjoyable. And then stepping forward, what am I going to do next? How am I going to take another step beyond this goal, closer to my bigger goals? What will I do differently? And then finally, T together. Who will I work with and who will I share this success with and invite on with my next goal? So smartest goals, being very specific and writing it down, and then connecting with other people. They could be your commitment coaches and helping you follow through on what you really want to do. We have to anticipate and prepare for roadblocks. Like if you're planning to walk every day, but you get discouraged by the rain, what are you going to do on the rainy days? Walk to the mall or put on that bright yellow rain jacket and boots? And again, enlist support. Choose a coach or a teammate, a neighbor, someone at home, someone nearby that you can exercise or go shopping together with for healthy foods or do a great social activity together. And you can consult with your family doctor, as you mentioned, if you're starting a brand new exercise program and you have extra challenges. So returning back to what is health, it's not the absence of disease, and healthcare is not merely the treatment of disease. So this is my personal belief that health is an optimal balance of the important areas of your life based on what you value and where you find meaning. Is the achievement of your positive potential in life. And that positive potential is your gift to the world. So there's so many balls that we're balancing, but really at the center is our calling, our mission in life. So I believe we each have a positive potential, a unique potential in this life, and it's our duty to realize that potential and to help others achieve theirs. So these talks and the work that I do every day as a family doctor, and my role as a father and a husband and as a son to my dad and a brother to my sister, my role in life to all the people I'm in contact is to help others achieve their positive potential. So our positive potential doesn't mean being perfect, because none of us is, because we're all human, but it's really guided by your personal values, what makes your life meaningful and connects you with other people. So please share as you're helping others achieve their positive potential as well. So together, let us see the change we wish to see. Let us be the change we wish to see. So that's kind of a combination of my quote and Gandhi's quote. And this is the two of us together in the Wax Museum in London. So we're here because we're part of this expanding circle of care, just to each achieve our potential and achieve this amazing potential together and creating a happier, better future. So remember, healthcare is self-care. Leona and myself, through Empowering Patients, the whole Burnaby Division of Family Practice, the Primary Care Networks, we're all here for you. Even if you live outside of Burnaby, we're all part of a community that supports one another. So I left enough time. I ended on time, so we actually have time for questions if there are any.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Wong. And of course, you were talking about healthy foods to eat just as I was having a piece of chocolate for dessert after my healthy dinner. So I appreciate your timing on that every time.
Oh, you deserve that treat. I hope you enjoyed every bite. So I
I
tell my
did.
patients, yeah, no food except maybe alcohol is forbidden. But if you do have
It
some of
wasn't
those bad
alcohol, it
days,
was
yeah,
chocolate.
yeah. So enjoy every little bite.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful for me. As always, I always learn something when I listen to your talk. So thank you. We do have a couple of questions. One is for the LDL, how low should you go?
Uh, there's different ways of looking at that. So a cardiologist or your own doctor, like family doctor, might have a particular goal for you. Normally you try to keep it like in a normal range, so not down to zero like a baby. People that are considered higher risk, like people with a diagnosis of diabetes or hardening of the arteries, atherosclerosis, like prior stroke or heart attack or angina, we aim for an LDL under 1.8. Used to be 2.0, but 1.8 is what most of the cardiologists aim for. Sometimes the cardiologists will say we aim for a 50% reduction in your baseline LDL. And then some of them are actually looking at that ratio between the total cholesterol that includes the bad cholesterol and the HDL and good cholesterol. So they look at that ratio too. And some of them look at apolipoprotein A and then just measure that one instead. So there's many different things. Usually though, we aim to have like a normal level. If someone has risk factors for narrowing of the arteries, like for stroke or heart attack, then we aim to get it below 1.8 millimoles per liter. But for other people that are not at increased risk for vascular disease, we usually may consider treating it like with medications if it remains above 5.0, because that suggests familial hypercholesterolemia, which is more genetic. So it's kind of a nuanced um, conversation that's based on your family history and your personal history. So that's why it's so useful to talk it over with your physician.
Right. Excellent. Thank you. Masood asks, is there any online link or calculator which can be used for calculating daily caloric intake? And basically maybe outlining some of the macros. So, how many calories for our body. So something specific.
I'm sure there are, but I don't have any at my fingertips because I don't
Okay.
use them.
None that you'd recommend in this moment. Okay. Thanks. Craig asks, if you absolutely had to eat at a quick serve restaurant, fast food, which one would you pick and what would you order off the menu? I like
If
that question.
Yeah, are you asking if anyone's watching? Because it's not that fast anyway. So they used to have salads at McDonald's. I haven't checked that out to see if they do. So I'm not sure if you could find like even a fillet of fish is high in fat and calories as well. And even a McChicken. I'm sure a McVeggie burger is highly processed as well. So actually, each of the fast food restaurants, including McDonald's and Burger King, they can actually give you nutritional information on all their products. They actually have that handy for you. They used to give it out, but it's probably like a website they'll direct you to. So you can actually see. Subway is actually easier because you can choose the kind of bread, like whole wheat bread. You can choose lower fat meat if you're putting meat on it. You could choose more cucumbers and veggies. You can choose a lower fat dressing. So lots of choices at Subway. Um, and then I believe Wendy's has salads too. I haven't been to a Wendy's for a long time, but they do have salads. And White Spot, you don't have to have the Monty Mushroom burger or even a burger at all, because there's actually a lot of healthy choices that you can have as well. So they have some nice salads too. And Cactus Club has lots, although that's not so fast because you have to wait to get it's so popular to get in.
It's
So
not so
there,
fast to triple the price.
yeah. So there are some fast food restaurants where there's actually not a lot of good choices, but like getting a Subway sandwich would be good.
So would that be your choice personally, or do you just avoid fast food altogether?
I usually avoid fast food. I used to crave for a sausage and egg McMuffin when I was an intern, like it being on call for the whole hospital. And then I would be going home, so I would have a sausage and egg McMuffin. This is like 36 years ago.
Yeah.
But I noticed that whenever I craved a sausage and egg McMuffin, that I learned from mindfulness that every craving passes. Most of us think it only passes when we give into it. But if you have a craving, so I could be thinking about it on and off for like a week and then eventually it disappears. So every craving fades. But most people don't wait until it fades. We usually give
Right.
into it.
Yeah. No. Sure.
Yeah. And it actually doesn't take too long. So because I swim twice a day, I need to make a really quick lunch to drive from where I am at Edmonds all the way to Central Park. So I eat food that I could safely eat in 15 minutes between the office and Central Park Outdoor Pool. So it doesn't take too long the night before to make a tomato and turkey breast sandwich.
Right.
Yeah, the slow part is every time I open the fridge to make my sandwich, the Labradoodle gets up from wherever he's doing, just standing right there looking at me. So I have to give him a slice of turkey breast at the end too.
Of course you do.
Yeah. So that's the rate limiting step. But otherwise, that's actually faster than going out and buying a Subway sandwich and telling people what to put into it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's
So yeah, planning our meals ahead makes a big difference
right.
and buying your bread in bulk and then sharing with others like your Labradoodle, then yeah, food goes farther.
It's
Yeah.
true.
If we plan for it, then you can put it all together. Yeah. Healthy diet because your energy is so much better. Um, you know, note how yucky you feel after like the day after drinking alcohol. It used to be a fun thing when you're
Hmm.
younger, but I know
Hmm.
if I have a drink, then I feel like just taking a nap and I won't get any of that 2 hours of tests I need to do on my computer after. If
Right.
I had a glass of wine with dinner or half a glass, then I wouldn't get things. And then I'd feel really crummy the next day because it's creates so much inflammation in the body.
Right.
And likewise with fast food, we might crave for that hamburger, but we feel so gross and bloated and yucky afterwards. Whereas when we eat a really healthy meal, we're still full, but actually our energy levels are much better. Rather than, we crave for having that thirst quenching can of Coke after mowing the lawn, but you get a big boost in your sugar, but then you kind of crash afterwards too.
And the
So
crash.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, make a note of how it feels. And when people that are in the habit of daily exercise, we really miss it if we miss our workout for that day. It just gives that extra boost. And swimming an extra kilometer in the middle of the day, it's better than a couple of cups of coffee in the afternoon, just for energizing the rest of the day. Yeah,
Right.
that change of pace. So
Excellent.
yeah, so when you integrate just this healthy way of living, you just don't have to think about it. The habits just reinforce themselves and you miss it if you're not doing it.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. Brenda asks, is high uric acid in the blood causing gout diet related?
In part diet related, so it's often part of metabolic syndrome. So it's hereditary metabolic condition that if you have the genes, it gets worse over time. So commonly people with higher uric acid might also have more abdominal obesity in the family, higher blood sugars, higher triglycerides, which is picked up in the cholesterol test, and tend to higher blood pressures. That's called metabolic syndrome. So they're at higher risk for developing like heart disease and diabetes, and of course, gout and kidney stones. So often it's hereditary, but highly sensitive to diet. So some people have a naturally high uric acid because of those genetics. And then when they have like eat something exceptional. They have a barbecue and have a few beer and a lot of red meat and steaks. That might raise the uric acid just above that threshold. So the uric acid in the blood crystallizes in the joint as uric acid crystals, and that can cause um, acute gout, which is a red hot swollen joint, classically the big toe, but it could be any joint that could be affected. But high uric acid could also cause kidney stones too. So you usually see both in the family history, both gout and kidney stones in people with higher uric acid. So it's both. It's so not everyone eating the same food will get gout, but if they have the genetics and eat foods that raise uric
Mhm.
acid, they can get attacks of gout.
Right. Excellent. Thanks. I hope that helps, Brenda. Well, that's all our questions. Craig did confirm with us that salads have not returned to McDonald's, but Wendy's does still have salad. So there you go. Food for thought, literally. So I think that covers it. Thank you again for everybody for joining us tonight. Before Dr. Wong logs off, I'll just remind you that as soon as I end the webinar, there will be an 8-question evaluation that's going to pop up. So if you wouldn't mind filling that out, it's super helpful. One of the questions is, where did you hear about us? So if you want to populate that, we're always looking for um, cheap or free ways of promoting these talks. So it's helpful to know some of that information. So thank you. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and next time will be Thursday, November 20th, and I'll be talking about the patient-doctor relationship. And notice we put the patient first. So improving your communication with all healthcare providers, including your family doctor, but great tips for if you ever end up at an urgent care clinic, walk-in clinic, a hospital in another country. The key things to ask, how to be your own advocate, how to get us to explain things that make sense to a normal English-speaking person. So yeah, so great tips to take away from experience on both sides of the gurney. And
Great. Thank you.
thank you everyone for your time today. And I wish you all to achieve your goals and dreams and positive potential. And I entrust you to help others achieve theirs and share what you feel is helpful for them. And thanks, Leona, for facilitating all this for all of us this evening.
Of course. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I put the registration link for November's talk in the chat just so it's super easy for you to register. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.